have a little bit of a technical. Are we ready to go? Can you see the slides? Yep. All right, I will just advance it. Well, very good. Welcome, everybody. My name is Trisha Bethke, and I am from the Morton Arboretum. As you can see, today we are going to talk about oaks and biodiversity. This is your class, and so I want you to feel free to go ahead and send me any text messages, any questions. We are definitely going to have some fun, and so sit back and get ready. I think we're going to learn a lot as we go, and I'm looking forward to learning from you as well. Just so that you have an opportunity to see me, I'm going to hook up the video. Hello, everybody. Can you see me? Send me a text message. Excellent. Thank you, Carly. Good, Donna. Excellent. Good. Well, I'm not going to stay online, so I just thought it would be important for you to check in and see the face behind the voice. The Morton Arboretum. How many of you know what the Arboretum is? We are a tree museum, and we are a collection of living specimens. I just have some pictures. We're also an outdoor learning lab for school-age children. Each year we welcome over 35,000 students to the Arboretum. We run adult education programs, and we also welcome 800,000 visitors each year. We're also a champion of trees. We love trees. We were founded in 1992 by Mr. Joy Morton. We have 1,700 acres of beautiful grounds. 800 of it is naturalized, and 900 of it is in living collections. And the trees are gathered specimens all around the world, and they are displayed and cared for here at the Arboretum, not only for aesthetic purposes to look at it, but it's also for learning purposes as well. We study and want to conserve and preserve trees. We are an institution. We do research here on a regular basis. We also provide educational programs for everyone, for young toddlers all the way up to 80, 90, 100 years old. We also promote community advocacy on behalf of our trees. As I said, we have 9.5 miles of beautiful hiking trails, so if you can get the opportunity, come see us, take a hike. You won't regret it. Our mission is simply to collect, study trees and shrubs and plants all around the world. Our heritage, I think it's important to highlight that over 92 years ago, Joy Morton decided to establish the Arboretum, and he did it more so because of his family history and their commitment to preserving trees. J. Sterling Morton was responsible for the development of Arbor Day, and while this motto, plant trees, has been in the family and in the institution for hundreds of years, it's something that we have lived by day in and day out. A little bit about me. I'm the coordinator of adult programs. I am the mother of 2 sons. As you can see over there, they're off on their new adventure. And I'm a graduate student. Every now and then I am known to want to get extra credit. So this is me tasting the goo of a honey locust pod. And I'm also a champion of trees. And I'm delighted to be here today. Oh, wait a minute. I think we have somebody else here today to share. Who could that be? Oh my goodness, look, who's that? Morty the squirrel. Morty has come to help us out today too. I think Morty found out that I was speaking about oaks and their importance, and I think he was deeply concerned that we were going to be doing what we could do to make sure that we preserve the biodiversity that oaks provide us, so that there's a good food source for it. So I think Morty's going to stay with us for a little while, but he's not going to necessarily be on camera. So Stay tuned. Morty, don't worry. Don't worry. There's nothing to worry about. The acorns are safe. We're going to help the children understand. Yes, I know. You're hungry. So, all right. Well, very good. We'll get on with our program. Thanks. I'm going to click off on the audio. I'm on the video, but you will hear me. All right. Can everybody hear me? Just give me a yes. Excellent. Let's go on and talk a little bit about biodiversity. At this point during the week, I am sure that you know all about the term biodiversity. But for me, I thought this was a really wonderful visual from the World Wildlife website. Biodiversity, it's a variety of life. It's the things that we need. We need a diverse amount of living things within our culture in order to have a very healthy culture. And key words for me here are the interaction. It's important that any healthy ecosystem have positive interactions with one another. And we'll kind of take a look at those interactions as we go through the program. Why do we need trees? You guys send me a text message. Why do we need trees? What do trees do for us? Is anybody texting? I think I see Debbie, and is it Yenny? Provide oxygen and carbon. Excellent, Debbie. Yep, you're right. Yep, they provide a nice habitat. Absolutely, absolutely. Good, we do. All right, this is a schematic. I know it seems a little bit busy, but trees are necessary for our survival. Through photosynthesis, trees produce the gas that we need, that we cannot live without, and it produces oxygen. As we breathe it in, our bodies take in oxygen, and when we breathe out, we release carbon dioxide. Trees do the opposite. They take in carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. And this cleans the air by removing harmful carbon dioxide so that people and animals can breathe. And breathing is breathing is a necessary part of life. I just saw Donna also chimed in on the preventing soil erosion. Very, very good. Excellent. Who are the workhorses here in this diagram? Who are the workhorses? Who's doing most of the work here? Anybody can guess? Sun, trees, and water, Donna? Very good. Yep, absolutely. Who else? The trees, you got it right. I'm going to use this. Let's see if I can get my arrow going. Can you see? Oh, can you see my arrow? There they are. Yep. Absolutely. Good. Without trees, what would happen? If we didn't have trees, our ecosystem would not continue to exist the way it does today. So why are we studying oaks versus maples? Does anybody know? What's the difference between an oak and a maple? Donna. Yep, maples give us syrup, you bet, absolutely. Well, oaks and maples are tree species. And while there's little difference in the classification, there's differences in the classification, they are tree species. And when we think about biodiversity and we look at different types of tree species, we want to make sure that we're always having a diverse group. And diverse means many different kinds. So as we look at oak trees, we think, what is the difference between them? They both provide similar functions, but they have vastly different habitat requirements. Oaks are slow growing and they require 60% more available light for germination. Maples, those maples on the right-hand side, they love the shade. They can hang out in the understory, and the understory just means the tree that's hanging out underneath the bigger tree, the canopy tree, the top tree. And they are just waiting for a gap, and that is an opening. So if their tree falls and all of a sudden there's sunlight, those maple trees can grow up into the canopy pretty quickly. And oaks don't grow as quickly as maples do, and so they have a competitive advantage. Maples have a competitive advantage over our oaks, and we're going to see how that competitive advantage starts to impact the diversity within our own woodlands. So if you're interested in biodiversity, why oak trees? What do oaks do that maples don't? Excellent, Alan, you're right. They produce acorns, and I think there's one person that is absolutely thrilled. You bet. Oak trees provide acorns, and acorn is a critical food resource for many, many people, as we shall, or many, many animals, as we shall see. Oak ecosystems, or habitats, or homes, support over 300 vertebrate species. And what are vertebrate species? Those species that are what? Give me an example of some vertebrate species. Excellent, Alan. Yep, birds. Squirrels. We know that, yep. Snakes. Absolutely, absolutely. I just mentioned that oak ecosystems have over 300 vertebrate species, and they believe that they estimate that the insect population is over 5,000 insects. And it is an estimate because it's absolutely very difficult to quantify the number of insects that support or are supported by an oak ecosystem, but that's what the research is telling us. And there are many, many different riparian vertebrates. It just depends on where those oaks are located within the watershed, or the water, the area, the land around different types of rivers, creeks, lakes, and such. Right now, I thought it would be fun to just take a real quick look at acorn ecology, since we're talking about acorns, and we know that acorns are the seeds that oak trees, that they are what oak trees come from, but I wanted to show you this video. So hold on, let's see if we can get this video playing and take a look at it. Can you see it on the screen? All right, I'm going to hit the play button and cross my fingers. This video is about 2.5 minutes. Wow, that was amazing. How fun was that? I loved it. That was my favorite video. I think I've watched it about 10 times when I was putting this presentation together. So the YouTube URL is up here if you need to refer back to it. Always able to just put in time-lapse and acorn into a search bar, and you should be able to come up with a YouTube video. There's different iterations of it. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Good, 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 good. Could you guys hear me? Probably not. I think my mic was off. But anyway, that was cool. I really enjoyed it. And you know what? You can check that out and look at it. There's different iterations of it. So let's move on now. I'm going to log off. Oh, that was just the best part too. Sorry, I'm teasing. Let's move on. We're talking a little bit about Quercus. Quercus is Latin for oak tree. Worldwide, there are over 600 species. Many of them are deciduous and evergreen. Does anybody know what the difference between deciduous and evergreen is? I think Donna and Alan are chiming in. Evergreens keep their leaves, deciduous, right. They decide to shed their leaves each year. And right now in fall, you are going to see an amazingly beautiful leaf drop. Yep. Hardwood change color every year. Green leaves stay green. Exactly. They photosynthesize all year round. And there are some evergreen oak species. 345 of those Quercus species are endemic to one single country. Here in North America, we have over 160 species in Mexico, and then 90 species located in the United States. And if you're looking at this map of the United States, all that shaded area in green is where oak populations currently exist. So you're looking at the state of California, and that whole state has a beautiful suite, as well as the East Coast and then the Midwest. Here in Illinois, we have 12 species that are native to our region, and 3 are hybrids. Do you know your oaks? We're going to take some time and have an opportunity to look at the oaks. If you are going to study oaks and you're going to learn about their biodiversity, one of the things you need to do is know the difference. And so while there's over 300 to 400 different types of species, the main category of oak species are broken down into 2 families. There's the red oaks and the white oaks. And if you know those differences between what a red oak is and a white oak is, it's going to help you to identify different types of trees. So we're going to go through and we're going to take a look at those trees. Let me see if I can get my, here. All right. Moving this along. White oak trees have rounded lobes. Let's see these lobes right here. What do we mean by lobes? These wonderfully rounded lobes. Let me just make sure I have a little trouble. There it is. These wonderfully rounded lobes. And red oaks have these bracts right at the end, right at the tip, the very tip. So that's one main difference that you can look at. If you're thinking about an oak tree and you're looking at a leaf and you think about the letter W, let's see if I can get that pencil in here. You think about this. What letter is this? It's a W. It's a sideways W, but it's white and wide, that white. And if you're looking at these bracts here at the end of the red leaf, those bracts almost look like pins. And so if you were to prick your finger, what would happen? What would happen if you prick your finger? What happens? That's right, it bleeds, and generally the color of blood is red, and so that is a red oak. So it's kind of fun, different ways of trying to remember the differences between a white oak and a red oak. Here to show you a few pictures. Again, here are the bracts over on the right-hand side. You're looking at this red oak. This red oak has a beautiful vase shape. So you're looking at that vase shape within the tree. A vase, if you're thinking about it, I always like to look at, and when I'm trying to remember the different types of structures of trees, and I think about a red oak, I think of a vase of red roses. So that vase, that shape of the tree grows up, and it's just one of the visuals that we use in order to try to identify trees. The white oak, again, that white and wide. We've got a beautiful wide presentation here. So if you're looking at from here to here, that nice wide branching pattern. Look at that wide expanse on this leaf pattern. White oaks have very gray and patchy bark. That's another identifying characteristic. And a bur oak has this gnarly bark right here. It's very thick, it's very corky bark. It's got a paddle, if you will, here. This paddle, this really deep lobes that are right here. They call them sinuses right here. This cavity, another main identifying characteristic of a bur oak. Bur oaks also are they grow up and then they grow down. So that branching pattern's very useful. Pin oaks. If you're looking at the growing pattern here on a pin oak, let's take a look at this. Pin oaks grow down, they point down towards the ground. You're looking here, again, pin oaks are in the red oak family, and you've got these bracts way down on the tips. Those pointy little bracts on the end should give you a good indication that it is in the red oak family. If you're looking at the tree and you're looking at the branching pattern, those branches are pointing down. Acorns, we can talk a little bit more about acorns, but different types of sizes and shapes of acorns also help you identify which types of oak trees you're looking at. Oh, we're almost halfway through our presentation, and I wanted to just take a moment to have a little bit of a sing-along. And I know that it's a little bit unorthodox, but I thought it'd be a fun way for us. You just saw all the different types of oaks that we are going to look at, but one way to remember them is to have a song, to sing along. And one of our famous naturalists, May Teilgard Watts, developed a wonderful song that we use in our education programs to help us remember the different types of oaks. So I thought it'd be fun to share it with you. And I think there's somebody special here that wants to share and sing along. Are you ready? This is the time that I want everybody to be able to stand up from their chairs. Yay, stand up. How many of you know the tune Row, Row, Row Your Boat? You do. 40 does. Excellent. Give me a hi if everybody's standing. Excellent. What we're going to do is we're going to sing this song, and Morty is going to show you the different types of hand movements that'll help you remember how to identify some of these important oak species. So let's start in. I can't believe I'm going to sing online. So the tune goes, no, 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 your oaks, this is how they grow. Red oak is a big V. Remember the V? White oak, white and wide. Stretch your arms out wide. Let's see if we can get Morty in there. Bur oak, one arm up, one arm down. And a pin oak, point down, that's it, point down. And acorns down below. So you move your hands all around where the acorns are. So let's try. Is everybody ready? We're going to try it, do it together. We'll do it with Morty. All right. No, 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 your oaks. This is how they grow. Red oak, white oak, fir oak, pin oak, with acorns down below. How was that? Yay! Oh, I think from Bridget said, can the squirrel show us his tail? Yay! There it is. He's got his tail. I think we need one more run through of the song. Let's do it really quickly and then we're going to get back down to business. All right, everybody up? Let's go a little bit quicker now. All right, on 3. 1, 2, 3. No, 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 your oaks, this is how they grow. Red oak, white oak, fir oak, pin oak, with acorns down below. Yay! Thank you, Morty, I appreciate it. I know you got to get going, it's lunchtime and you're a little hungry. Thanks for stopping by, I really appreciate it. All right, let's get back into class. Give everybody a moment to get situated. All right, we back? How was that? Did everybody like that? Was that fun? Okay, let's move on. We've got about 30 more minutes to go. We've got some information to cover, and I'm going to move swiftly through it. If you want to, at the end, we can always practice that song. So let's talk a little bit about the life cycle of an oak tree. I think the life cycle, understanding the life cycle and protecting it is critical to improving the health and the biodiversity in our ecosystem. So when I use the word ecosystem, I just simply mean the habitat, you know, the components, the home, if you will, of where the trees and animals live. If you're looking here, I'm going to use my pencil again, talking about the life cycle. So we take the acorn, and the acorn grows into the seedling. And the seedling matures into a tree. And look at that tree. In oak trees, it takes a tremendous amount of time for an oak tree to become old enough so that it would produce acorns. It isn't as if a tree within the first year, 2 years, or even 10 years is able to produce any type of acorns. It takes sometimes oak trees 30, 40, 50, 60 years in order to produce acorns, and they don't produce the same amount of acorns in any one year after year. Some years they have a heavy, what they call a masting year, and so there'll be a tremendous amount of acorns. And when there's a tremendous amount of acorns, there's a tremendous amount of what? Of wildlife. You have a lot of acorns, you have a lot of food sources, and so you're going to have a lot of squirrels, you're going to have a lot of rabbits, you're going to have a lot of different animals, vertebrates, that are feeding on that source. And then that oak trees can grow probably anywhere from 80, 90, 100, 200. I think on the grounds of the Arboretum, one of our oldest oak trees is approaching about 300 years old. And so when the tree somehow reaches its life expectancy, maybe it was injured, maybe it was affected by disease, maybe a lightning strike, maybe something happened to it, the tree dies. And what happens is the tree dies and branches, there's dieback in the crown, and this becomes a what? Does anybody know what this is? The structure that I'm pointing to? Does anybody know that? Sorry about the phone interruption. If you don't know what it is, you know what we refer to this as a snag. So and I'll type it in there, it's a snag. Snags are home to many thousands of insects, different vertebrates. It has a nesting cavity up here for many of our wildlife, our fowl. and it's a home for squirrels to be, a home for squirrels to live in, raccoons, any type of different animals that want to seek shelter within a snag. A snag is defined as anything that is above 13 feet in height. And oftentimes at the Arboretum, certainly in our forest preserves, it used to be that we would take those down, that it was important not to have sort of dead wood standing around. But we realized that we were almost eliminating a large population of many different types of animals and insects by removing these homes. And so if you continue on to this circle and you look at from this snag eventually is going to weaken and it's going to fall down to the ground. And we're going to have a beautiful opportunity for that fallen log. A fallen log, if you ever have an opportunity to explore a fallen log, please do so. I think there's hundreds and millions of different types of life forms that are going on. But that log decomposes over time and then adds back to that lovely organic layer that in the topsoil that trees, oaks especially, need. Does anybody know what a keystone is? Send me a text message. Alan, it is an important species in the ecosystem. Anybody else? Nope. I love this visual. This is a keystone. While this is an architectural structure, a keystone, if we were to remove this center blue piece, if we were to remove this, then all of these pieces would come cascading down. They would just fall without that main piece in order to hold it together. And so you think of a keystone species, you're looking at a species that is holding that whole ecosystem together. What is a keystone species? Who do we have here on our screen? Wolves, starfish, sea otters, these are species that exert a great influence more than others do. If we remove these animals, it would have a ripple effect and it would alter a large portion of our food web. You see the sycamore tree over to the right. The sycamore fig tree grows in the tropic and it produces fruit year-round, so it's an important food source. Today, we're going to focus on a native keystone species in our region, and that is the oak species. Are trees keystone species? Yep, they are. We're looking at this food web diagram. Notice that the oak tree and how interrelated all the pieces are. If we were to take and remove a species, say we were going to get rid of an acorn. We got rid of the acorn. What would the deer, what would the mice, what would the blue jays, what would the woodpeckers, what would they feed on? They wouldn't be here because they would leave. Animals and plants have the same basic objectives. They want to eat, thrive, and survive and reproduce. And so if there isn't enough resource material available for them, resource material meaning habitat and food, then they go somewhere else. They migrate, they move away. And so you're seeing on this simple schematic how interrelated these are. And so you have your primary producers down here at the bottom, the decomposers, and the fungi. The fungi is critical to the health of our trees and also our soil structure. Oak ecosystems, we talked about this before, more than 100 vertebrates, over 5,000 insects. Acorns are essential habitat produces nesting cavities for our owls. They love to nest in old howls. Our birds enjoy the insects that are living below the bark within many of our oak species. Do oaks need us to survive, or do we need oak trees to survive? It's kind of a trick question, if you will. Anybody want to take a guess? We need each other, that's for sure. We need each other. Yep. Guess who else needs oak trees in order to survive? Yep, there we go. Our dispersal agent, our favorite, our squirrel. Squirrels have make the most significant impact in dispersing acorns. Most acorns fall directly below the tree because they're not wind dispersed. They drop to the ground, and if by chance they have an opportunity to roll somewhere, they might, but squirrels take them, stuff them in their mouth, and then they move. They move to a different location. They bury them. They cache them. And hopefully they don't remember where they put them, and that acorn has an opportunity to germinate and grow into a seedling. Remember, I told you that acorns need 60% more available light, or oaks need more available light in order to germinate. And so that light impact is very critical, because it's oftentimes difficult for acorns to start germinating when they are right below a tree that's heavily shaded. White-footed mice. White-footed mice thrive on acorns. It just depends, I think, typically how the sizing of the mice, the sizing of the acorn. Some of them can get to be a little bit too large for them, but white-footed mice feast on acorns. So do pigs. Pigs love acorns. Large mammals, such as a pig, bears, and deer, also consume a large amount of acorns. They constitute up to 25% of their diet for deer in autumn. In Europe, pigs are put out to large oak groves, and they're allowed to feast and fill themselves with acorns. And before you go and try and eat an acorn, I would let you know that acorns can be extremely toxic to humans if they're not, because they have a heavy tannin content to them, and they can be toxic if consumed by horses and cattle, consumed in excess, I should say. There's our blue jays. Blue jays are another famous dispersal. They help move those acorns around. They help that oak population continue to grow. So a blue jay takes that acorn and they fly away, and sometimes they cache it, sometimes they drop it when they're flying, and so if they do, that acorn pops down and gives an opportunity to spread that oak tree around. We have our pileated woodpecker in Minnesota. I think this is one of the most ingenious storage systems I've ever seen with our wildlife. Teamwork going on here. Now that is a storage system. The pileated woodpeckers are probably the largest in size of woodpecker, probably 12 to 14 inches. They have a very strong capacity for being able to drill into large, very large holes. If you're ever walking in the forest and you see a lot of looks like sawdust at the bottom of the tree, look up. Oftentimes you'll see where the woodpeckers have drilled these large holes. But you can tell it's an engineering feat, because the woodpeckers were able to put each one of those acorns in there for storage. Good, how are we doing so far? We got about 15 more minutes, and we're going to move swiftly through sort of what's going on in our ecosystems right now. Oaks are the foundational, they are our keystone. They produce that structure and a function. So if you think about community structure, think about the layers of a cake. You've got the top part, which is a canopy. You've got the understory. You've got the shrub layer, which is that middle layer. And then you have the herbaceous layer. You have the flowers that are on there. Oak species create a very diverse understory. And so we're thankful for that. The picture on the right is a beautiful representation of an oak savanna. Look up and see how there is a canopy opening. That available light allows this understory to continue to grow. When I'm talking a little bit about the understory, I'm talking about, let me just see if I get this. Talking about this understory right here. Gaps in the canopy are crucial to the survival and the overall health of oak ecosystems. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. We're able to take a look at wooded oak ecosystems dating all the way back to the 1830s, and you'll see in this picture, this graphic representation, just how dominant oak species were in the 1930s. So we're looking on the left-hand side at all trees, and then we pan out and we look at just what are the oak trees, and we see on the far right-hand side the non-oaks. So this should give you an indication of how dominant oak species were back in the 1830s. We have a diverse list of species within northern Illinois. We talked about the white oak, we talked about the bur oak, we talked about our red oak, but we also have beautiful chinkapin oaks as well as pin oaks, and then the black oaks are actually seeing a resurgence in some of our forest reserves through management. What happened over time since the 1830s? There was a lot of different land uses. We had Native American influences. They settled, they came in, they cleared the land for agriculture, they cleared the land, they burned the land often. When they were burning these grasslands and these wooded areas, they were burning to clear out so that they could have room for their cattle to move. They were also starting fires so that they would warn off possible intruders. But they started to manipulate the land that was existing. Those pictures that you saw, those beautiful, heavily forested areas. And they moved in, they set up home, and they cut trees down, and they built their houses. And they also started agriculture. They started trade. They used some of the tree species in order to build boats, in order to move their furs around, in order to move people around, to go out and to fish, to feed their family. What else happened? What other influences happened? It's a big word. It's called fragmentation. It simply means to break things apart. If you took it and you broke something apart, it's no longer continuous. It's fragmented. So if you have a stick and you snap it, you got two different parts and you hold it, that's a fragmented ecosystem. They're separate parts. You may have one stick in one hand and one in the other, but there's nothing in the middle. And so we're seeing a significant amount of fragmentation going on in the state of Illinois, and that fragmentation doesn't allow for wildlife to have a continuous area to move back and forth. It just means that it's very separate and distinct areas. So fragmentation, human impact on fragmentation, whether you're clearing for homes, you're clearing for agriculture, you're clearing for commercial uses, fragmentation has had a negative impact. What's the status of our oak ecosystems today? They're changing. They're changing. Yep, like highways, Donna, absolutely, absolutely. Highways have one of the single biggest impacts to fragmentation. Very good. Yep. They're necessary for us. We think about them as, I can't imagine what we would do without a highway, but yet it becomes a very difficult and dangerous passageway for any type of wildlife. So definitely highways, roadways have impacted, negatively impacted the oak ecosystems. Agriculture and grazing. Settlers moved in, they stripped this land of any type of trees, and they let their cattle graze, and they put drain tiles in to move water off of the property, and it altered this home, this habitat. Urbanization, suburbanation, right. We built houses, we built schools, we built malls, we built institutions. We built, but we built quite possibly at a risk where we took down too many trees. And not only it's the tree species, but it's what's below the ground. The soil has been altered by stripping the land away in order to put down a foundation, quite possibly to build a business. So what are the changes? We're seeing animal browse, our buddies, the deer and the white-footed mice. We talked about how they are reliant on ecosystems, but too much of one thing can be a bad thing. And too much deer browse can negatively impact any type of regeneration. And so the white-footed mice right now, they are studying, doing lots of different research on the impact of white-footed mice. Are they stopping the regeneration process? So the acorns are buried, but yet there's a bottleneck. We might see a small seedling, but we don't see a tree that grows into, say, 4 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet high. Fire, you see the fire up here. Fire, prescribed fire. We removed fire, for obvious reasons, when we have we have areas where there's a lot of high density of population, there's a lot of people. You can't have fire. Fire is not a good thing. But the ecosystems were dependent on it. The Native Americans used fire in order to knock back the weeds. They used it to clear the grounds. And today, we're adding back fire into these ecosystems. We're adding that necessary tool to clear away the grasses, the dead grasses, and allow those native species to take a foothold. So when the ground is cleared by the fire, the soil warms up, and that acorn has a much better chance at regenerating. Changes, lack of ecosystem, lack of oak regeneration. And oak regeneration means just, there's a lack of these smaller seedlings in the understory. So we're a little bit concerned about that. Dense canopy light is just dark and shady sometimes in different ecosystems where there is no sunlight because there's so many trees are crowding that canopy and that sunlight can't reach down to the forest floor. And we talked about the fire and less flammable ecosystems. Insects and diseases have negatively impacted our oak ecosystems, but human impact, I think, has been a far greater, has had a far greater change in the last 30 to 40 to 50 years than, say, disease has impacted these oak ecosystems. Loss of fire, we just talked about that. We call it mapleization. So sugar maples, what do? They love to hang out. We talked about it before. They like to hang out and hide in the understory. They've got really, really thin bark around them so that when that fire comes in, they can't survive fire. And so they can grow in cooler temperatures. They can germinate in cooler temperatures. They can grow in cooler temperatures, but they can't withstand fire. So if you think about it, we're adding back that fire to get rid of that maple, that heavily dominated maple species. We need a balance. We can't have all of one and not the other. Donna, you had a question about Asian longhorn beetles. Asian longhorn beetles associated with oaks? As a threat to oaks? Absolutely. Beetle infestations have been, and it's interesting, you can talk about impacts of insect infestations, and it is devastating. It's devastating to the older tree species that could potentially be injured, have bark injuries, it could be hit by lightning, there could be drought stress, there could be lots of different things. And then when you get a heavy infestation, like the Asian longhorn beetle, it weakens the older ones, not the younger ones so much. And so we're losing that opportunity because remember, those older trees, they're the ones that are producing the acorns. So absolutely, thanks, Donna. So what's next? I know we have to wrap up pretty quickly here. What is next? What are we doing? Does anybody have any questions? I know I just ran through a lot of different information, Anybody have any questions? Nope. All right, let's keep going. What's next? A little research update. What are we doing in order to help the oaks and the oak ecosystem? We're doing some canopy gap management. What does that mean? It's a fancy term for, we're looking at all those forested areas that don't have any sunlight reaching the floor. And if you think about it, we're just going to trim them out. We're going to, let me see if I can go back real quickly. Right here. When you're talking about gap management and you're talking about canopy thinning, what we're looking at doing is going in and selectively removing different types of tree species so that we can create, if you will, openings within the canopy. And that opening is right here. We want more sunlight. We want more opportunity for that sunlight to hit the forest floor to help the regeneration. Let me just go back. Alan, I see your question, and yes, we can talk a little bit about chlorosis and pin oaks and see, I'll answer that in just a quick second. Talked about fire. We talked about the lightfoot and lice predation. All right. Alan, you had mentioned, you had a question about the problems that oak face in residential areas, chlorosis. Typically, chlorosis is an iron deficiency, and it just simply means that those trees were planted here, and they were planted in an area that didn't have the soil nutrients that it needs in order to grow properly. So there are different types of methodologies, there are different amendments that you can do to the soils, there are different injections, although that's I think a rather expensive route to go through for different types of pin oaks per se. Is there anything specific? They may look yellow, like they're yellowing out early, and they may look like they're dying, but it doesn't, chlorosis doesn't hurt the tree. Potentially it could weaken it over time, but it isn't life-threatening. Do you have a question about the diseases? Absolutely, Alan. Oaks can do really well in residential areas. You just need to plant the right oak. And so what we're seeing is typically in a residential area, you wouldn't necessarily want to plant a bur oak, but you might want to plant a red oak. Red oaks do very, very well in residential areas. If you have the space, white oaks are absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Good question. Thank you. All right. In order to help, okay, good. Oh, I have just a quick note too. So red and white would be best. Red oak is, to be honest with you, in a residential area, I like red oaks because of their vase shape, their upward growing habits. For a white oak, you really need a tremendous amount of space. I think if you have it, that's great. Red oaks need acidic soil, so you need to make sure that you have your soil tested, and you need to make sure that there's a right amount of acid within that, and it can be amended as well. Can gardening help trees? Sure, gardening can help trees. Absolutely. How does gardening help trees? We need to add mulch. Mulch, mulch, mulch. Mulch madness. I could do a whole other class on mulch and soil. I love soil. Mulch is that beautiful organic layer that's on top of the base of a tree, not all the way up to it. But you want to think about utilizing mulch and creating a volcano structure. So the mulch is pulled back away from the flare at the bottom of the tree so the water has the ability to seep in and get down to those roots, but we got to make sure, like anything, we don't put too much mulch, because too much mulch on top of the tree can compact the roots as well. Donna, were you thinking about a certain type of gardening activity? Nope. All right, we're going to move on really, really quickly. We've got a community engagement and action. Oh, yeah, soil tillage. Yep, yep, good. A no-till is better than too much till, that's for sure. Community engagement and action. You know, part of the Arboretum's work is focused on community engagement. How do we involve our community to help the preservation and conservation of trees, and specifically oak trees? But we aren't necessarily always, we're looking at all of our trees. We look at regional partners that help us get our work done. We have an oak recovery project, so that oak recovery project, real quickly, is just doing an analysis about what was the historical oak populations, what were the disturbance patterns, how can we design and model, research, and test certain scientific models to help influence recruitment and regeneration. We're working with 7 counties in the Chicago region to create an oak recovery plan. We've partnered with Chicago Wilderness and our forest preserves. We have our Community Trees group. The Chicago Regional Trees Initiative is part of that oak recovery plan. We have our community tree resources. We have forest health programs. And then we also have a tree keepers program. And in 2015, we are going to be offering a youth program. For adults, I think primarily we have a woodland stewardship program that has a little bit longer training program, and it's geared to kind of give you that advanced level in stewardship and forested ecosystem management. And we get to the best part. If you'll do me a favor, if you want to, what we'd like to do is connect with you. We'd like to stay connected with you. If you can send me an email, my email is up there. It's tbethke@mortonarb.org. If you do email me, let me know. We're going to enter your name or your class's name into a drawing, and you'll receive a special gift from us. Also, if you'd like program or scholarship information for our spring Youth Keepers program, I'm very committed to working with students that want to participate in these type of volunteer action programs, and so I work with you on trying to secure a scholarship. So please email me and let me know if you're interested on that. We also have a lesson plan that we developed in conjunction with the Chicago Urban Forest Census. It's a middle school grade level lesson plan, so if you're interested in that, send me an email and I'd be happy to send it on to you. Or if you'd like to receive just periodic updates from us, send me that information as well. I wanted to take a moment real quickly to thank those people that helped me tremendously to put this presentation together. Bob Fahey, our forest ecology, Lindsay Darling, our research assistant, Jim Anderson, who's the natural resource manager of Lake County, and my favorite person, Beth Corrigan, as Morty the squirrel. She is our community tree coordinator, and I'm grateful that she joined me this afternoon. So with that, I want to say thank you. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I loved spending an hour with you talking about what I'm most passionate about, and that is oak trees and biodiversity. Happy National Biodiversity Teaching Week to Deb and your team at Elgin High School. You did a phenomenal job. Does anybody have any questions? I'll hang on the line. I know we're out of time. Thank you all for joining me. Connect with me. Come visit us at the Arboretum. We'd love to see you. You guys are more than welcome. Yenny, thank you. You're welcome. Carly, Donna, Alan, Bridget, really appreciate it. is there a beetle infestation in our area? Beetle meaning what type of beetle? There's tons of beetles. So we do have infestations. Emerald ash borer is probably what we're seeing the result of. The longhorn Asian beetle. It is primarily that is focused on the East Coast. That isn't an issue that we are seeing here. It is heavily focused in Ohio. So unfortunately, as you're looking at the wind patterns, you know, something that's in Ohio could get here, could be here. One of the things that we're seeing that has a tremendous amount of impact in the spread of different types of insect infestations is the movement of wood into different areas. So if you've got wood that's infected in your home state, keep it there. Don't move wood around, because that's oftentimes how insects get introduced into different areas. It is awful. Yep, Donna, you're exactly right. I'm sorry. Sorry to hear that. Absolutely. And I don't, to be honest with you, know, although I can get some information and see if I can pass it along. Anything else? You guys were a great class. I had a lot of fun. You're more than welcome. I will definitely thank Morty. Oh, there's Morty. Morty's back. I will definitely thank Morty for you as well. Thank you. All right. Have a great day, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we look forward to seeing you soon.